What happens to the circle of hands when one among them begins to let the fire's light fall on disorder instead of order?
At the hearth one evening, the youngest daughter sat with her hair uncombed and her spindle left untouched while the others spun.
The wool lay in loose heaps, and the rhythm of turning wheels slowed because no one could look away from the idle hands without feeling the thread of the evening pull uneven.
By morning, the mother's loom stood silent longer than usual.
The daughter had gone to the pasture with her cloak dragging and her shoulders hunched, so the younger children who followed her left the gate unlatched.
3 lambs wandered into the tall grass, where the dogs could not easily find them.
The father noticed the gap in the fence only when the sun was already high and the day's work had already lost an hour.
In the workshop, the eldest son sharpened his blade on the stone and found the edge dull from yesterday's neglect.
He had seen his sister leave her own tools scattered and had said nothing, thinking the matter small.
Now the wood he cut splintered instead of parting clean, and the shavings scattered across the floor like scattered trust.
The grandfather, sitting near the door, watched the shavings fall and did not speak.
At the riverbank, the women washed the day's linens.
The daughter stood apart, her sleeves rolled only halfway, her arms moving without the steady pull the others kept.
The water carried away less dirt than it should have, and the cloths returned to the line still carrying the smell of the day's labor.
The aunt who worked beside her noticed the uneven wringing, but kept her own hands moving, wondering how many more washings would be needed before the cloths were truly clean. Seasons turned.
The boundary stone that marked the edge of the kinland grew moss because no one walked there to clear it.
The path that once showed the tread of many feet grew narrow.
Children who once watched the elders mend tools now watched the same elders sit longer beside a fire that needed more tending.
The questions that once passed from old voice to young ear stayed longer in the air before anyone answered.
The grandfather returned to the hearth one evening when the wind pressed cold against the walls.
He looked at the circle of faces and asked what the spindle left idle had cost the thread that should have bound the next winter's cloth.
He asked what the unlatched gate had taught the lambs about the safety of the fold.
He asked what the dull blade had taken from the wood that should have framed the next roof beam.
No one answered at once, and the fire popped in the waiting.
If the pattern holds, the fields will still be worked, yet fewer hands will know the full weight of the work.
The tools will still hang on the wall, yet their edges will be found only when the need is already sharp.
The children will grow, yet the memory of how order looks when it is kept will grow fainter with each turning of the year.
The lineage will not break in one season.
It will loosen, thread by thread, until the circle that once held warmth holds only the memory of warmth, and the land itself forgets the steady tread that once kept it.
If the words of the elders stirred recognition in your heart, then you must carry that ember from your own hearth and add your thread to the rope that binds the kin, so the flame may strengthen the circle once more.
You walk the paths between the stones, and keep the watch at the boundary stones against the wind that would scatter what the elders have kept.
You tend the fire that warms the right hands, and guide the child back to the ground meant for their labor, so the lesson passes onward through generations, and the circle remains whole.